we're now going to assemble one half of the base, which we've just completed, to one half of the hoop. So take one of the hoops, lay it down such that you can actually see the letters, and that you have the big slot facing you. So if we turn it over, we can see on that side we have a small slot. So turn it over, so we have the big slot facing us. We then pick up one of our bases that we previously made. Again, check that we can see we actually have the lettering, because this will be the underside. So pick it up and you'll see that it slots in all the way along. Now mine is tight, but on yours it should drop down quite nicely, as I've changed the tolerance on the production models. So we push that fully firmly all the way home until, if we go down into here, we can see that the slightly smaller lug will then engage into the other side and locate it firmly and hold it all at 90 degrees. So that's best done gently, working your way along, pushing it down as we go, but in your case it should just drop in quite nicely. When it's in, I'll do that on mine and then I'll come back to you. Right, once we've got that in nice and snugly all the way along, and we make sure the little lugs are also engaged, and it's also important to make sure that the end is lined up. So if we turn them over, and we can see that we're lined up at that end, and if we run down to here, we're lined up at that end as well. Again, yours, you'll be able to shift this part in relation to this part slightly backwards and forwards as build a little bit more tolerance into it. Now the next bit's a bit tricky, but I'll explain it to you. Now, because we've got tolerances in slots, well, first of all, you need to hang it like I've got here on your flat baseboard over the side of the table, and again a couple of tins of beans or sugar or whatever just to hold that in. Now in your case, you'll find that the hoop and the base will have some movement because of bigger tolerances to make it easier to assemble. Now what this will mean is that you'll be able to take the hoop and you'll be able to move it up and down in relation to the actual base by 0.5 millimeter. Now it's very important that the hoop is that way and the base is that way. So to do that, we have to half build the aluminium structure but not glue it in place. So to do this, we take our aluminium extrusion and we place it in, and it will drop in quite nicely. And then you need to locate this item here, which is labelled bottom A1 and has got the word short on it. We're not going to glue this in position, this is purely just to hold it together. So we take that piece and at this end you turn it over so you can't see the writing, and you'll see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's it. And then on here you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lugs. So we place that over the lugs and squeeze. And when we squeeze it, what we're doing is, let's try and get that right. When we squeeze it, what we're doing is we're pushing this piece down onto the aluminium, which then pushes the aluminium down onto the base, which then pushes the base up to the top of the hoop. So that clamps it all together. So while you're actually holding that with your fingers, you then go around and put just a little bit of focus, there we go, a little bit of super glue into this area here. Right, so while you're gluing along here, it's important that you don't get glue. I'm going to move light here. As you can see, there's a lug point there and a lug point there. Don't put any glue in that area there, and the same there, and so on all the way along, because we in fact have a piece structure that goes down and along there, and any glue in that corner will get in the way of that structure. So it's important you miss out where those lugs are. So anywhere in between. And you'll find that there should be, I'll get something to point with, pen I do. You'll have a very slight gap in there of maybe 0.5 millimetre. And you'll find that on each of the lugs there's about a 0.5 millimetre gap. So by squeezing down, that's what you're looking for, because you're trying to force this piece that way in relation to the hoop. So then you need to move along, and again press it with your fingers in there and there, squeeze tight, come over, and again you should see a small gap there. Squeeze tight and put a bit of super glue in and slowly work your way along. And then the next part you'll need is labelled bottom A, short bottom B1. Take that, turn it over, again pick up on the lugs, squeeze tight, and again super glue down in that area. Don't glue that yet. Whatever you do, don't glue the top on yet. Then you need to locate bottom B1, short C1. Turn him over so you can't see the writing. Load him on. Line up with the lugs. Squeeze tight. And again, go along with the glue on the inside edge there. Then locate C1, short, and nothing on the end. Take that one, turn him over so you can't see the writing. Load him on into the lugs. Squeeze again, and again super glue down into those locations there, so it's nice and tight. Let the glue go off, and then you need to take all these parts off again. So once the glue is set, while holding it tight and gluing the inside there, you also need to come round to this side. And again, while you're squeezing tight, where the small lug protrudes through there but it's flush, you need just to run some super glue just as a capillary action into there again while holding it tight. And you should see a very, very slight small gap between the lug and that part, about 0.5 mil maybe. But again, if you squeeze tight, you'll just see the gap. What we're doing is we're pushing that part, the base, that direction, so that it's up tight against there. And that's done by squeezing the top piece, the aluminium, which then pushes it all up. Right, to show this tolerance, to make it easier, I've done a particularly little video just so you can see what's happening. So we load in our piece of aluminium bar, we load our top on, and then as you can see, if I squeeze, as you can actually, hopefully you can see that we're moving the hoop itself in the up direction to meet base. If we come round to in there, you can just see that as I squeeze it, I raise it. Now when you squeeze, that's the position that you need to be glued in, and obviously make sure also that you don't have that problem. As you can see, that's wrong. It wants to be pushed in firmly and then squeezed, and then you run your super glue into there, and then you slowly work your way along. When you're gluing these parts along here, I'll just put it in focus. It's the super glue you need to use is the thick one, because what we don't want it to do is to run all the way in and end up gluing the piece of aluminium in as well, because this will happen if you use the runny one. So you've got to use the thick one and keep it squeezed. Maybe some clamps you can use, or your fingers, and then just work your way along slowly. The alternative to stop the aluminium sticking with the super glue is to just lay some cling film over the aluminium tube or aluminium extrusion, and then with the cling film thoroughly over it. I'm trying to do this one-handed, not very successfully. Right, there we go. And push down. So there we have it in place. And then you have to trim off using a knife the cling film. Maybe best to just run along there with your knife. I can't do this because I've got two hands. Hang on a minute. Right, so just run along there with a knife to take the cling film off, and then using your capping piece, which we're now clipped down. So we can now go in there and we can use the thin super glue if we wish, because any seep through will go onto the cling film and not end up sticking the aluminium bar in there. I think that just about covers all possibilities and ways of fixing this part. It's one of the more difficult ones to do.